And he said, well, you take the kids. And we were badgering, but we were kind of kidding each other. He got angry and left. He said, when you get some sense, come back. Well, we did. We finally went back. But we were married in church. We didn't have any of the sacraments, but we were married. And then we decided to go on our wonderful honeymoon, which we did. You've all heard about it. Anybody haven't heard about the honeymoon?
I have.
You have heard about it?
We need to hear about it.
You haven't heard?
No, I probably have.
Huh? Well, just real quick, I'll tell you. A friend of mine in St. Louis, a retired colonel, had this cabin along the Kern River, probably about 100 miles plus. So he said, and I said, how big a cabin was? Nice. And of course, knowing him, it was first class, we thought. So we packed up. I borrowed my dad's car, and I had my bird dogs in somewhere, and I opened up the trunk, and the bird dogs jumped in it. Everybody thought, he's not taking his bird dogs on the honeymoon, is he? Well, it so happened that I did.
Just jump in.
So the darling had her beautiful clothes she brought naturally, and big suitcase and everything. And I had directions to go to our honeymoon spot, and I wound up going down the road to there was a dry creek bed. That's what it was. And I finally got to the destination. I remember this old guy came out. He knew we were coming down, but just had rainy season in November. His name was John Trish, and he invited me inside of his cabin, 2 rooms, all papered with newspapers. And I said, what am I getting into here? We had to go across where the cabin was, more like a house, across the Kern River. And it was high, the water was high. And to get to the John boat, we had to walk half a block through weeds and water. And I never did look at her because I was afraid she was going to change her mind. And so we loaded up the John boat, and naturally the bird dogs running back and forth.
Naturally.
That was nice, wasn't it?
I survived. At least.
What'd she say?
She survived.
Well, barely. So I did prepare for it. I took 2 shotguns, one for her and one for me.
I like that.
I had that over and under that I gave you. Then I had a a 20 gauge that she carried, small. So, and this was, nowhere. I didn't have to tie the dogs up, and they weren't going anywhere. But after a few days there, she started cooking, made a cake, set it outside to cool. Naturally, the bird dogs got into it. And that didn't set too great. But after about 10 days or 2 weeks there, we finally got to go back home, and we got to Springfield at our parents' house, and they took one look at us. Her dad stuttered, I could hear him muttering, what the hell happened to her? A little sunburn and a little wind burn, and a few others. So we finally made up that we'd have our ups and downs, but there was always a way to correct that. And of course, when we did correct it, there was another kid on the way. First child was Marcianne, 1947. Less than a year later, second one, Marianne. That's quick. Same year, of September the 18th. Huh?
Yeah, you got it, Jen. Yeah, you're right.
And yours was October the 1st, wasn't
That's
it?
correct.
Yep.
So, and then about 2 years later, Gigi, wasn't it?
Even better memory.
And everything was fine. We had one wild kid in it that just tried to destroy our home in St. Louis. Jumping from bunk bed to bunk bed, tearing the chandelier down.
Wow.
We survived that, and then I don't blame him. I'd be tired too. We stayed in St. Louis. My dad had bought a building, opened a liquor business, and he was 65 years old at the time. And I felt like that I should join him, which I did. I didn't want to, but I did. But I stayed in that business for about 8 years. But the last few years, I noticed coming in the liquor store, a lot of people would always say, "Is there a cab company around here?" And I said, "Well, really not." And they all had to call somebody, or that was it. I kept thinking to myself, "My gosh, maybe I should think about that." So I bought 2 brand new Plymouth cars and a couple others and started a cab company. About a year later, one of my friends was kind of a mafia kid, came from a big family, and he said, "Bob," he said, I didn't know what he was, but he said, "I got a call from Chicago," and he said, "There's a man up there that's the head Don, and he'd like to talk to you about your cab company." Well, he sent one of his men down there, which was named Joe Bonanno. And he wasn't interested in cab business. He was interested in gambling, and knew that I had a bank of phones for the cab company, and he wanted to get in with me and get in the business of gambling. Well, I kept thinking about it, and I told my dad, I said, "I think I better look for another job." I didn't want to get messed up in it. So at that time, her father had a biggest painting company in that area, like maybe 50 painters, which was big, and they did work for all the federal buildings, painted as forever, Los Alamos, where they made the atomic bomb, and he got so busy, and his brother was with him, that he decided to split the business up. So he called me and said that we're breaking up the business. He said, I'm going in with one of the boys, one of the two sons, in the outdoor advertising business. And I said, well, that's fine. He said, would you be interested? And I said, well, I was interested, but I said, I'll talk it over with my father. So we talked it over, and he was willing to change. We sold the business there 8 years, and I finally went in business with her father as a worker, naturally, and worked there for a number of years, and then he said, I'm going to retire, but do you want to buy the business? And I said, I certainly would. So he said, well, I'll start making preparations for it. Well, another year or two went by and he didn't, because I was pretty good help. We were making money. And so I said, I hounded him again, and he said, yeah, well, let's do it. Well, it was about a year later that I threatened to quit, and in fact I did. Took a job as sales manager for a beer company. And then later on, he decided to really retire, and I said, are you sure? Yeah. So I bought the business out. From then on, it was taking care of the children. The job I had was doing good. Kids are pretty smart, I remember, and I could never figure out how you lock the doors and the windows at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock and they'd ever get into the house. I never figured that out. The kids were fine, they grew up. Had one incident where I can remember, one of the kids almost went to jail. And I told me what happened, and they said that she was caught with a friend of hers swimming in a quarry somewhere. It was off. This party was brought home in a police car, and I thought it was real funny. But the sheriff was a friend of mine. He said, and he was kidding. He said, if it wasn't for you, this little lady had gone to jail. Yeah. And he was kidding, of course. He was sheriff at the time, Mickey Owen, a ball player. So that's about pretty close to the end of the story. I'm like son Joe. Joe used to say, I get up slow and then I taper off. Well, I learned to beat that. I'd get up with nothing to do, and when I'd go to bed, I was only half done. So, thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for the party. Thank you for the mother here. And,
happy birthday, buddy. I'm going to tell you something. In 47 years, And with his family, all the stories I heard piecemeal, you heard in chronological order. It's unbelievable.
I didn't want to do it.